Thank you guys for joining me today. We can try to make this interactive. I've got 20 minutes to speak. My name is VanBuskirk. I'm the Vice President of Product and Strategy for Worldpay US. I've been in the industry for about 16 years, been at Worldpay 3.5. Primary focus has been around mobile commerce as well as gift cards, point of sale, and to some degree a generalist across acquiring and processing. Today I'm going to go ahead and speak to you about mobile commerce and then the journey of the consumer through mobile commerce. Just out of curiosity, how many people are familiar with Worldpay and know anything about Worldpay? Okay, good, that's good. 75%, give or take. For those of you who don't know, Worldpay is an acquirer, processor, been in the industry for 30 plus years, global, very strong in e-com, very strong in card not present. We have European divisions as well as US divisions, which, like I said, I run the product and strategy for that. We're in over 146 countries and process 126 different currencies. And we have spent over the last 5 years about $1.5 billion on our platforms to help create the services and products needed to support payments as well as the consumers and merchants. And through that breadth and through that global reach that we have gained a lot of customer insights around mobile and e-commerce. We have two very good reports, which I'll have some details at the end on where you can download those, because I think there's a lot of really, really good information in it. And the basis of this presentation is taking some of those insights, tailoring it to the US, and talking about mobile and how e-commerce and mobile merge together, as well as how they need to work together from a buying experience or the journey that a consumer would use. Which, out of curiosity, are most of the people here, how many people create mobile apps, point of sale components? A few? Okay. So talking more about that journey, and there's some really, really good insights. And we can make this interactive, so feel free to, if you have any questions, raise your hand and ask, or you can wait till the end. One of the big things that have come out of the insights, as technology has evolved, there's web-based interaction to purchase things. There's mobile interaction to purchase things. There's a whole array of ways and places for people to actually interact and buy things from a retailer perspective. And it really has become to where the shopper themselves have become like a point of sale. Through online, you can order things online and pick them up in stores. You can order things through a mobile phone. How many people have used the Starbucks app? Yeah, it's good. That's kind of an example where you can actually go and order it. I love it because you can order it, you can go pick it up. It's fantastic. Social media. Social media is real big. You know, just last night we were out. I'm not from Chicago. I'm from Atlanta. I don't really know Chicago. So we wanted to go eat somewhere. We went online to look through Yelp to figure out, okay, where should we go? And that directed us towards that from a purchasing perspective or from a restaurant perspective to actually go there. And as all of these new technologies are coming about, consumers are embracing them, primarily in the younger demographic, but it's not just limited to the younger demographic. It's going across older demographics as well, like myself, and even, believe it or not, my parents. My parents, I can't believe it, but my parents will actually do things on the mobile phone. My mother-in-law just bought an Apple iWatch, and she's intrigued with the Apple iWatch, and my father-in-law actually loaded in a mobile wallet, which is just a different kind of shift. So as that happens, we need to really think about that and create our solutions for that. Through our research, by 2019, we predict that e-commerce will grow from 1.6 trillion to 2.4 trillion. So that's almost a 50% increase in just a few years. And 23% of that will be mobile-based. You know, mobile today is really a handheld computer. It has access to the internet. It has has the same access that you have when you're at your house, but now you have the mobility factor from that. So it's really changing the way we need to think about payments. Along with payments, there's been several alternative payments that have come about in different ways. I'll try to stand next to the mic. I tend to wander, and I usually have a mic connected to me, so I'll try to stay still. With alternative payments, there's a great breadth of new ways to pay for things. Everything from wireless terminals, and this is all, within the last 10 years, give or take, but wireless terminals, NFC, contactless. I started out doing mobile back in 2008 for another processor, and we were in the mobile commerce. And in 2008, everybody was like, mobile's coming, NFC, contactless coming, NFC. By 2010, it's going to be there. And it hasn't occurred yet, or at that time, it hadn't occurred yet. But now we're at a stage where it's truly starting to shift as consumers become more comfortable with that type of medium, as merchants create more of those point of sale terminals from an acceptance standpoint, from an adoption standpoint, where we really are at the stage where that's starting to shift. How many people remember knuckle busters? Yeah, right? I mean, those things were, they were pretty old, and kind of when you think about it, wow. And then now it goes from knuckle busters to actual mag stripe. Everybody has mag stripe. I remember back, and I'll tell you my age, I'm 45 years old. Back in the 90s, when I was in early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, we just used ATM cards and paid everything with cash. And then I'd say within 5 years, that turned into, now everybody has debit cards, and not everybody, but most people have debit cards and credit cards and use that for payment. And the evolution or the adoption curve of these new payment mediums has increased tremendously. So with that comes additional payment methods. And from an alternative standpoint, when you look at a traditional card, it has already surpassed, the alternative payment types from a traditional card have already surpassed the card itself from a usage perspective. 51% of the transactions in 2015 were not a card-based transaction. It was some form of alternative payment. By 2019, we expect that to increase to 55%. And a lot of that depends on the region, and it's different. The alternative payments within each region are different, but within the U.S., it is definitely shifting that way. There's things like EMV, there's wallets that help that shift, and that's where we think it will be going by 2019. North America, from our research, what we've done, seems to have the biggest shift of the alternative payments. In North America, which is US, Canada, Mexico, we predict it'll go from 28% to 35%. And the biggest piece of that being e-wallet. And the e-wallet will surpass plastic. This is kind of a very, very busy slide with a lot of data on it. But what it shows is it shows different payment types and where we're going to predict either their growth or their decline over the next 3 years to 2019, and it's based on data from 2014. The biggest component that we see is really the e-wallet, which is, if I had a pointer, I'd point to it, but right here, we expect that to grow by 26.7%. Now, what's interesting about e-wallet, because it is definitely an alternative payment type, but it's still using a card base for that. It's how many of you have signed up for Apple Pay? Just quite a few of you, right? So you're basically taking your card and putting that card into the wallet. So even though you're using your phone to pay, it's still going back to the wallet, to the card you have within the wallet itself. Or that card has been digitized, said differently, has been digitized and stored in the wallet securely. So that's where we see a lot of the biggest growth. So with all that data, it's really not about the payments, but it's the buying journey. And it's really what is the consumer going to do and how do you need to interact with all of these different mediums to help prepare yourself and create the best experience for the consumer. There's a lot of things to think about. Ultimately, these payments are integrated into the journey, and it'll result in sales if you do it well, or less sales if you don't do it well. And that having all those pieces the same look and feel and the same experience across is very important. You have your websites, you have your homepage, you have your shopping carts, you have user profiles that consumers create when they go on board. Sometimes you have a payment page that's built into your website. Sometimes you have it off. Then you have mobile as another medium. And it really needs to take all of these different components and make the experience the same across the buying journey, or the same, make them the same across all the different mediums. There's, you got to have good error handling as well as support. So there's a lot of things to think about as you're creating solutions, payment solutions for consumers, which ultimately, for merchants, which ultimately is for consumers, because they're the ones who use it and will drive it. The journey is driven by the customer, and through our research, the three big things that are important to the customer are their identity. How well do you know your customer? Security, which really makes sense, right? How secure are you keeping that data? And then how convenient is it for them? Of all the different payment types that are out there, you want to be able to offer those to make it really seamless or really easy for a customer to purchase things. And then ultimately that helps a merchant, because that simplifies that process so the merchant can sell more. As well as the merchant, there's underlying data that's collected behind that, where if it's secure, that helps the merchant mine that for certain trends, or certain buying trends, shopping trends, things like that. From the data that we collected, shoppers are happy to give their data if they think it makes it easier, and it's 47% of the time. If they know that, if they know where their data is going, they're even more likely to do it. And by that I mean if they know where their data is going and where it's secure. That really helps, and that's 50% of the time. So it's really important to think about that when you're creating these type of solutions and how you do it. We asked the consumers what makes them feel more secure. And the stats speak for themselves, but 68% state that if you have digital certificates or logos that they're familiar with, that they trust, that helps them and makes them feel more secure. And that can be secured logos, that can be a various of things. So as you're creating applications, you want to make sure you put those components on it. A well-known website or reputable brand. I mean, it's almost kind of like common sense, but if you've built the value of your company and you've built out that brand, that it's safe and it's secure, that instills within customers the trust. So if you're building things and you don't have that, you want to partner with somebody who can, or find a way to make sure that you show that, so that you really make people feel secure. And then 55%, they feel secure if they have payment methods that they know. That could be Visa, that could be MasterCard, that could be PayPal, that could be things that they know, versus some new type of payment method that they're not aware of or aware with. The other thing that was interesting out of the research is when directed to another website for payment, 25% of them fall out if they don't know it and they don't trust it. So on a website, and this could be website, this would also apply to mobile, but as you switch off, if you switch off to another payments page and they don't know that payments page, or they don't feel secure with it, they'll drop out. And that's really 25%, which is a lot. So you can help minimize that and help increase your chances of a sale by making those things, by using very well-known and secure services. Overall, it's funny, when they put this slide together, they really wanted me to emphasize the light bulb, because this is a call out for retailers. But they can ultimately overcome security concerns by providing the relevant information, using third-party sites that people trust, and then getting further guidance, or providing further guidance before and during that journey, so along the way, making them feel secure through all the various components. We also queried the users, or the insights show what's important to them when they're going through their journey. What components, what type of tools do they need to help them? And believe it or not, the biggest one was a frequently asked questions section. So as you're designing these solutions and creating these, just by having a simple, easy to use, frequently asked question solution, that will help that customer feel good about that journey through that payment process. Some of the other big ones, customer service and live chat. That's the ability, if they have problems, they want to be able to call someone and talk it through, or, an online chat through the web, through your phone. That will help as well. Email support's big, and it's interesting. I have another slide I'll show you around email support, which is telling on what they expect within the journey. And with email, across the journey, one of the big things is if you've ever gone online, what do you want to know? You want to know where you are within that journey. What's the status? And you want to know, did it happen when I purchased something or when I completed an action? Did it happen? And the best way to achieve that is through email. 97% of shoppers think that an email, a confirmation is important, which is pretty big. That's pretty big. The other piece is around security and knowing that their payments are secure. Apple Pay has tokenization. There's a lot of tokenization products. There's point-to-point encryption. And curious to see, when I say that, do you guys know what I mean when I say tokenization and point-to-point encryption? Okay. So making sure that that transaction is not only encrypted, but the account number information within it is also tokenized so that it's secure. You need that whole package packaged up in a way and then said simply to the consumer that your payments are safe with us, right? As you come through it, your payments are really safe. So in summary and closing, I kind of went through a lot of information, but the main things that are important from a consumer perspective is their identity, knowing their customer, making that process easy across all the different mediums. That's mobile, that's the shopping cart experience, the web experience, making it secure and making them feel like it's really secure, as well as making it convenient in terms of the different payment types. So that's it. We'll move on to questions. One thing you'll note, I have links where you can download that information for those reports. Those reports are actually very, very good. They show the different regions across the United States, Europe, Asia Pacific, South America. I say United States, I guess I should say North America. And they show different trends within each of those regions on how they do. And then there's a separate report which really goes through the buying journey that you can customize it for different components on what you're interested in, depending on what your focus is and where you want to go, and it'll give you information and insights into that. Well, thank you.